Hey everybody, it's Derek Van Otten, also known as DVO, and this is the DVO Show with Kenny Gardner. How you doing, Kenny?
Hi, doing great. Thanks, Derek.
Hey, I appreciate you coming down. I'm appreciative of what you're going to be talking about today because it's such a fascinating story and such a fascinating cause. And your foundation is called Hearts for Hearts. And the reason is, the basis of it is, it's kind of scholarships for surviving family members of donors. Am I correct?
Organ donors, right.
Organ donors, correct. Because you yourself are a recipient of a heart transplant.
I would not be here right now meeting with you and talking to you about this, except for the miracle gift of organ donation. That's true.
You're right about that. And I think it's important. Ever since I was 16 and got my first driver's license, I put down as an organ donor. And I just, I just kind of felt like it was the right thing to do. I just figured I'm not going to need it anymore. But after hearing your story, I thought it was pretty fascinating. And I want to kind of give some history of us meeting. So we actually met, I know you don't remember this, but we met about 4 to 5 years ago. And I was with my family in an area of the Salt Lake Valley called Sugar House. And we were at a frozen yogurt place, and we had some frozen yogurt. And I came out of the strip mall, and you were outside with your family, and I'm not sure where you guys were at, but me and you just sparked up a conversation. And you were kind of telling me this story, and I thought it was really interesting. But when we left, I wanted to do some research because I thought this guy just blowing smoke up at me, So I looked it up, and I saw the story that was featured on KSL, which is a local news spot here. And I saw the story, and I was like, "Oh, this is legit. This is pretty interesting." And I remember at the time where I was working, I was telling some people about it, that we ran across each other, and what a cool story it was. And now fast forward to basically last week. Because of one of my businesses, we got in contact there. We had never met before for something totally irrelevant to this. But we were talking on the phone. You were running a little late, and you gave me a jingle. And you said, "Hey, while you're waiting," you kind of told me the story. And I remember I was standing up, and you started telling me the story. And I sat down because I just was just hearing it all. It was such a cool story. And then you said, "Hey, do you have Wi-Fi where you're at? Can you can look up the story real quick until I arrive?" And I pull it up, and I said, "Oh my gosh, I've seen this story." And you said, "Oh, you have?" And I remember thinking, "Wait, we've met. We met 4 years ago, and we were just talking outside of a strip mall." And it's funny how we just kind of connected again. And now, since we've met, you've started this foundation, this organization. And I just said, "You know what? You need to come on the DVO show. Let's promote it. Let's get it out there. Let's let people talk about it." I want you to talk about your organization. I want to talk about the story of how you got this heart. But, tell us a little bit of history, because the title of the story talks about you went to the University of Utah. You played basketball there. And your donor played football for BYU. Rival schools within miles of each other, one of the most heated rivalries in college. And that's what made it so interesting as well. So there's so many levels of interesting to the story and how we met.
And to think that the rival BYU football player would save the life of a University of Utah basketball player, that is just totally something that happened, and who would have guessed that would have happened?
It's true, yeah.
Well, that's a part of the story. I run into a lot of people and a lot of circumstances that bring this home every day. It reinforces just how lucky and how blessed I really am.
Right.
But as far as our meeting, that was another one. Just happenstance and circumstances, the way it happened. It happens to me all the time.
It happens to me all the time too. It does.
I don't know if I've received some inspiration or some special gift from my miracle heart donation that saved my life from Nick Longshore or what, but I don't really remember being intuitive or having any special gifts.
Uh-huh.
I'm just a regular guy that is just very lucky and very blessed.
Good.
And to have us meet again and to be able to find out more about you and what you do, it's a privilege and a pleasure.
I appreciate
I appreciate it too. Basically, I'm a local homegrown from Clearfield, Utah.
All right.
Born and raised in Clearfield, 30 miles north of Salt Lake. We happen to have had a pretty good basketball team 52 years ago in high school. We were state champions, and we just had our 50-year reunion and celebration of the only state championship that Clearfield's had.
And who'd you win for that title?
Years. Yeah, you're from Hillcrest, so
Hillcrest High School.
We beat Hillcrest High School. The Hillcrest Huskies we beat in the state final. But then the next year, in 1968, Hillcrest won the championship. So they took second to us in the 67 championship. Then Hillcrest won it in 68. So that was kind of fun.
That was fun.
But then fast forward through to college. I was recruited by a lot of the good colleges in Utah and other places. But I decided to go and play at the University of Utah. Partly the reason is my uncle Vern Gardner was an All-American at the University of Utah 2 years before I was born in 1947.
Okay.
He was a teammate of Arnie Farron, Wat Masaka, and a few other great players. They were national champions in 1947. Well, my uncle Vern was an All-American for 2 years. And I grew up always watching University of Utah and listening on the radio to University of Utah ball games. So I pretty much kind of had to go to the University of Utah.
Okay, that's good.
So I went to Utah and had a great time. I had the privilege of playing with Mike Newland, is a great All-American from the University of Utah. And I was teammates with Mike for 4 years. Mike went on to play 13 years in the NBA. He's a great player, still living in Houston and doing well. So when I finished my college career in 1971, it's a long time ago.
Wow.
I was actually drafted by the Suns. So I go down to Phoenix to their tryout, their rookie camp. They only kept one rookie that year, so the Suns cut me, the little brats. So I went and played in France for 7 years.
Nice.
All the flunkies that aren't good enough to play in the NBA, they go to Europe, or they go to China, or they go to South America. There's Americans playing all over the world.
You speak French?
I'm fluent. I lived there 7 years.
Wow.
But anyway, I played 3 years in France, and my first 2 years before I really spoke much French, we were French champions.
Nice.
I was lucky and voted the best American in France those 2 years. Anyway, then after the third year, I came home to Salt Lake City, and before the Utah Jazz came in town in 1979,
right,
there was an ABA team called the Utah Stars.
Yeah.
And in 1975, after 3 years in France, I came home and I had a tryout with the Utah Stars, and I made the team.
Cool.
6'5", slow, non-jumping white kid from Clearfield, right? And I made the pros. Moses Malone was a second-year kid out of high school, 19-year-old kid. Moses was on the team.
Yeah.
Ron Boone was still on the team.
Yep.
And anyway, I made the team, but my big break in the pros turned out to be the year they folded. So the Stars fold, the whole ABA goes away.
Yes.
That's when they merged and they absorbed the Indiana Pacers, the Denver Nuggets, the New Jersey Nets, and the Indiana, Denver, San Antonio Spurs.
Okay.
Those 4 ABA teams they brought into the NBA at that time. Well, that cut the jobs in half, so I was out of a job, so I had to go back to France for 4 more years.
Okay.
But my short stint with the Utah Stars, I realized a dream of mine. A little side note. We went on a 4-game road trip. We played Kentucky Colonels, Virginia Squires, Indiana Pacers, and the 4th game we ended up in New Jersey. And we played against the New Jersey Nets, and I got in the game, and I realized a dream of mine. I guarded Dr. J for 9 minutes in New Jersey. So I'm proud to say I've been dunked on by Dr. J.
That's an honor, though.
Julius Erving was my idol. So
I love Dr. J.
Oh, no, great. He was the Michael Jordan before Michael Jordan.
Oh, for sure.
Great player. Tremendous gentleman. I've seen him a couple of times since. And And I kind of remind me, he claims he remembers me guarding him in 1975 for 9 minutes, but I know he can't remember. But anyway, he was my idol, so that was a privilege and a pleasure to be able to do that.
That's cool.
Anyway, I went back to France, played 4 more years, had a great experience. We played in the European Cup, which is, we made the Final Four of the European Cup, which is champions of Italy and Spain and Russia and Israel and Greece. And all these champions play in a tournament called the European Cup. Well, my French team of Berck, we made it to the Final Four.
Okay.
First time in history that a French team had ever gone to the Final Four of the European Cup. So
that's pretty cool.
That's a big deal. It's like not a big deal to NBA and to the pro basketball here at home, but in Europe it's a big deal.
Right.
So nice. I had a great experience, and then 1978 I came home to Utah, came back home, and I 1 year I was helping coach Jerry Pym at the University of Utah as a graduate assistant coach.
Okay.
And then after 1 year, then I started working with Delta Airlines. It was Western Airlines. 3 years later, we became Delta, and I worked in Salt Lake City at the airport for 25 years with Delta Airlines.
Oh, nice.
Then I retired after 9/11, so that's 2002. So that's 17 years ago I retired.
Yeah.
2 years later, 15 years ago, I had a heart attack.
Wow.
Out of the blue. No symptoms, no signs.
Were you just like at home or?
No family history. I actually was working at a little part-time job I had as a merchandising position. And I felt people have different symptoms, and women have different symptoms than men.
Interesting.
Everybody talks about the left arm pain, pressure on the chest.
Yeah.
Women have pain in the back and some other things. I had none of that. My vision went completely dark. Wow. I couldn't see.
Scary.
And I had to sit down. I felt weak and tired. Luckily, I was 10 minutes away from the emergency room in West Valley. Good. So I had a guy run me quick to the hospital, to the emergency room. And as I'm filling out the paperwork, waiting for my turn to get in to see the doctors, the lady says, "Stop, come with me right now. You are having a heart attack." So I go into the emergency room, and luckily, my heart doctor, my cardiologist, Dr. Charles Hawes in West Valley, he was on duty that day in the emergency room, luckily.
Yeah.
I go in and I'm on the table in the emergency room, and they're doing a scan, and they're looking at my heart, and they ended up putting in a couple of stents. I had a lot of blockage. I had 85, 90, and 95% blockage in 3 different arteries and veins. So I had a lot of blockage. They put in a couple of stents, and they got the blood flow going, which saved my life. And I came out of having the heart attack, and the heart replenished and got renewed blood into the heart, and things got back to normal. I think I was in the hospital a couple of days, but that was the beginning of my heart problem. So 6 weeks later, I had open heart surgery.
Okay.
I had a 5 bypass surgery. The same doctor, Dr. Kent Jones, is still working for Intermountain Medical Center and Intermountain Healthcare.
Nice.
He did my 5 bypass surgery that saved my life. I got along great for 10 years, and then 6 years ago, I went into my heart doctor in Murray at Intermountain Medical Center, and my heart doctor said, after some testing and a checkup and so on, and I was getting weak and I was feeling lousy, and he said to me, "You're done. Your heart is shot. You need a new heart."
Wow.
And I really hadn't thought about heart transplant. I knew they had done them, but I didn't ever think I'd be a candidate for it. But he said, "You need a heart transplant. Your heart is that weak." And Derek, I was dying. I was getting weaker and weaker. This went on for a couple of years, and slowly deteriorating. I was really, really sick. So 2 days later, I go into the hospital, and the heart failure team puts in the LVAD pump. So the LVAD pump means left ventricular assist device.
Okay.
LVAD, LVAD pump. And these LVAD pumps are saving people's lives.
Good.
It saved
Great.
my life. It's about this big. They open you up and they attach it to your heart.
Wow.
And they just help that weak, lousy heart be efficient.
Okay.
So I had the LVAD pump for 10 months while I'm on the heart transplant waiting list for 10 months. And when you get an organ, this is a side note, when you get a kidney or a liver or lungs or marrow or tissues or eyeball, whatever you get, when you receive an organ donation, when you receive an organ, a transplant, they check you for everything.
Okay.
They check you check your liver, they check your kidney function, they check for cancer. And this is another pitch, by the way, to everyone.
Okay.
Get your colonoscopy by age 50. So the last thing I had to do before I went to the top of the list of the heart transplant waiting list, because there were 75 people ahead of me on the list.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so that's why it had taken 10 months. But 5 months into my waiting and being on the list, we needed to do one more test, the doctor said. We need to just do a colonoscopy, then we're going to move you up to the top of the list. Everything else checked out fine. I was doing well with the pump that was keeping me alive while I'm on the list. Good. But I had never had a colonoscopy.
Okay.
He said to me, "When was your last colonoscopy?"
Never.
Never. I was 64 years old.
Okay.
Supposed to get him at age 50.
All right.
Everybody gets your colonoscopy by age 50. So he looked at me and he was so angry. "What? You've never had a colonoscopy?" Sure enough, we do the colonoscopy, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The doctor comes in the next day, looks at me and says, "You have cancer." What?
Wow.
I'm sitting here with this weak heart.
Yeah.
With this pump attached to it, keeping me alive. I'm like, come on, man, what next?
Oh, my goodness.
So I have colon cancer. 3 months go by, no chemo, no radiation. They declare me cancer-free.
Really?
Miracle.
What was it?
They think, like a lot of people when they have colonoscopies, they find a couple of polyps.
Yes.
And he went in and removed 2 polyps.
Okay.
One was benign, the other was malignant.
Okay.
They think when the doctor that performed the colonoscopy, when he took out the polyp, he must have taken a little extra tissue. Luckily, my colon cancer had not spread into any other organs.
Good.
Had remained right there localized, not into the wall of the intestine, nothing. They think that's what happened, but the doctor said, "I think it's miraculous."
That's awesome. That's a great...
That's the power
extra
of
level
prayer.
to the story. Wow.
I can tell you the power of prayer. I truly, honestly believe in it.
Wow.
3 months, no chemo, no radiation, and they declared me cancer-free.
Great. Wow.
So then I can move back onto the heart transplant waiting list. When you get an organ, when you get a kidney, liver, heart, whatever, they take your immune system down to 0 so the body won't reject.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
So if you have any hint of other problems or a cancer, because your immune system down to 0, that'll blow up and you'll be dead of cancer like right now.
That makes sense.
So they have to get you cancer-free.
Yeah.
They have to get you kidney problem-free, liver problem-free. You have to be in decent health. So that's why they had to take care of the colon cancer, and they did. So I get back on the list, and then on John Kennedy Assassination Day.
Okay.
Here's your history test.
Oh, boy.
What day was John Kennedy assassinated?
I don't know. I'm going to fail this test.
I'll never forget it because I was in 9th grade in 1963. November 22nd, 1963, President Kennedy was assassinated.
I'm going to remember it now, though.
My transplant date is November 22nd.
Oh, wow.
2013, not 1963. So on November 22nd, 2013, 5 years ago,
Okay.
I go into Intermountain Healthcare and meet with the heart failure team on a routine clinic visit. They
Okay.
check you, they see how everything's doing, they check the LVAD pump and make sure everything's running okay. And at that visit, it was in the afternoon for some reason this day, my doctor said, "You're doing fine, everything looks good. Go ahead and go home." I live 12 minutes away.
Okay.
But he did say this, "But don't go too far, because at this very moment, we are evaluating a potential heart for you."
Interesting.
I'm like, whoa. So he said, "Go ahead and go home."
Uh-huh.
And as I'm leaving the hospital, leaving the clinic that afternoon, one of the nurses jokes and says, "Watch, when you get home, 10 minutes after you get home, we'll call you to come back," right? So I drive home with my daughter Bailey, and we get home, and this is the truth. Literally 10 minutes later, the phone rings and they say, "Come back, it's a go."
Wow.
It was unbelievable. So my knees start shaking, and I drive back to the hospital. They check me in. At 10 p.m., I'm in the hospital, prepped and ready to go. And my heart surgeon, Dr. Bill Kane, comes in at 10 p.m. and he checks me out. He reassures me, and he says, "Kenny, I'm going to call this for 2 a.m. It's a go. We have a good, strong heart for you. The surgery will start at 2 a.m.
Interesting. Okay.
This is at 10 p.m. when he came in.
Okay.
So I'm there with a couple of my daughters and a couple of family members, and making some phone calls saying, "Today's the day. I'm getting a heart."
Wow.
So at 2 a.m., they take me in. The anesthesiologist's there. They've got me all prepped and scrubbed and ready to go. And in walks Dr. Kane with his mask and everything else.
Yeah.
And I didn't know any of this, of course, at the time. I didn't know who my heart came from. I didn't know the circumstances. And at 2 a.m., they put me out. They crack me open. My heart is life-flighted in.
Wow.
And Dr. Kane's partner, Dr. Reed, so I know this from working at Delta Airlines. When an organ comes in, when they fly organs in, and they do it all the time in the airline business, we'll have kidneys and livers and I guess hearts and eyeball, whatever.
Yeah.
A little gruesome, but this is the way it works. They'll fly them in, and as the airplane arrives at the gate, the first thing they do when they open the door is they take that organ, which is packed on ice, out first before any baggage, any passengers, nothing.
Makes sense.
The organs come out first. So my heart had been on ice, flown in, it turns out, from Idaho Falls.
Okay.
And a lot of times when they come in on ice, the organ is cold.
Okay.
And you've seen, like in the movies, when they're going to shock somebody.
Yes.
Defibrillate.
Yeah.
Clear.
Right.
Shock, right? So normally when organs, and especially a heart, comes in, they have to shock it to get it started again.
Oh.
And my heart comes in. Turns out it's Nick Longshore's heart. Find out later.
Yeah.
BYU football player. My heart comes in on ice from Idaho Falls, and Dr. Reed takes Nick Longshore's heart, and he is going to hand it to Dr. Kane, my surgeon, and Dr. Kane has taken out my heart, taken out the LVAD pump, taken out the pacemaker, everything's out. I'm split open and prepped and out, waiting.
Oh my goodness.
Dr. Reed takes Nick Longshore's heart, my future heart.
Yeah.
And hands it to Dr. Kane, and Dr. Kane does this. Squeeze, squeeze. There it went.
Just beaten.
Just took off.
Wow.
Started beating. No shock needed. So all of these things, it's a little like something was meant to be. Right?
Sure.
So,
Absolutely.
12 hours later,
That's how long the procedure took.
12 hours of surgery.
Wow.
Normally it takes 8-9 hours, but because it was so quick that they told me, get ready, we've got a potential heart for you. We didn't have time to go 2-3 days before to take me off blood thinners.
Okay.
So the doctor was hesitant. He
I
said,
see.
we didn't know because we didn't want you to get on the table and be a bleeder, right?
Yeah.
So my surgery of my heart transplant took 4 hours extra because I was hemorrhaging bad.
Oh.
So he was cauterizing and spraying and dabbing
I see.
to get the blood flow slowed down.
Yeah.
That's why it took an extra 4 hours. So 12 hours later, I received the heart, and
Wow.
6 hours later, I'm recovering, and I start to come through, and I take a day and a half of not being able to speak, and I'm intubated with the tube, and little by little, I come out of it, and that's the way my heart surgery went.
Incredible.
Fast forward 6 months later, and I get a phone call out of the blue, and it wasn't supposed to happen this way. Normally, an organ recipient, normally the procedure is 9 months to a year out.
Okay.
I can write a letter anonymously thanking the donor family for their sacrifice,
Got it.
for saving my life.
That's pretty cool, though.
No, it's really cool. And it's a delicate situation, and it has to be approved and researched and make sure there's no mistakes, because let's face it, somebody's grieving. Somebody has just had a huge tragedy happen.
Yeah.
They've lost a brother or a son or a husband or a wife or a family member. Somebody's had a horrible tragedy happen, right?
Oh, yeah.
Regardless of whether someone else is going to benefit. It turns out that my donor, Nick Longshore, saved 6 people's lives with his kidney, liver, lungs, me with the heart, right? So normally, 9 months out to a year out, I can write a letter anonymously thanking the donor family for their sacrifice.
Okay.
Then if they choose to make contact back, that's the way it works. Normally. But at 6 months out, 6 months after I got the heart, I get a phone call out of the blue from Caroline Longshore's aunt, Jill Longshore Hall. And Jill's aunt is with a friend of mine. They happened to be at church that day. It happened to be on a Sunday. It happened to be Mother's Day, in fact.
Interesting.
And I get a phone call. We had just returned home from church with my 2 daughters. And I get a phone call, and my friend John White says, "So, how's it going, Kenny?" "Oh, good. What's going on?" "Well, I have somebody. Do you mind if I put you on speakerphone?" So he puts me on speakerphone. I said, "Sure, whatever."
Okay.
Jill Longshore Hall comes on the phone and says, "I'm Nick Longshore's aunt. You have Nick Longshore's heart." Hello? I'm like, my knees start shaking. I had to sit down. It was
kind of
like,
in shock almost.
because it wasn't supposed to happen that way, right? And she tells me, "We know you are the recipient of Nick's heart, and we have his wife, widow, his baby girl, and a lot of family would like to meet you."
Okay.
So later that day, on Mother's Day, on a Sunday.
Oh, the same day.
Same day.
Oh, okay.
We agreed to meet in North Salt Lake at the Hall's home. And I come over with my daughter. This is 3 hours later in the afternoon.
Okay.
And we go and we meet, and there's 20 family members there. And we open the door, and delicate situation. I'm gonna meet the family of the persons whose heart saved my life.
Yeah.
So out of the group walks a real pretty 23-year-old widow at this point.
Yes.
Of my donor, Caroline Longshore.
Wow.
Caroline approaches. We approach each other hesitantly, and then we hug, and then Caroline puts her ear on my chest, and she's listening to her husband's heart beating in my chest. And also at that meeting that day, I found out all this information. I found out that Nick died in an accident in Idaho, an ATV accident in Idaho.
Do they live in Idaho?
No,
Oh,
they were up visiting relatives, sisters, in fact, of Caroline, his wife. They were up visiting them in Idaho Falls. And Nick had gone out with the two brothers-in-law to the dunes on an ATV, and I guess he had an accident on the ATV, and they take him by ambulance to the hospital. Nick is on life support for 6 days in the hospital.
Oh, wow, okay.
And they didn't really know, they didn't remember if Nick was an organ donor or what. They were hoping against hope that he was going to survive, that he was going to pull through and he was going to make it.
Yeah.
And at the end of 6 days, the aunt told me she was in the hospital room when this happened. This is another thing that was like it was meant to be. And they had decided that Nick was not going to make it. He was going to die. And they were going to go ahead and shut off the life support machines, pull the plug if you want. And they were literally 15 seconds away from turning off the machines and letting Nick die.
Wow.
And not recover his organs. And someone from Intermountain Donor Services went charging up to Idaho Falls in the hospital. He bursts into the room and says, wait, he's an organ donor.
Wow, just minutes before.
15 seconds before.
Oh, seconds. Oh, my gosh.
So he comes into the room. Well, it turns out they discuss and they talk about it, and Caroline says, yes, I remember Nick was registered as an organ donor, but we just didn't think about it with all the chaos and the crying and the praying and everything while he's in the hospital. They just had forgotten or didn't pay attention to Nick being an organ donor. So Jill Longshore told me, Nick's aunt told me, you don't know this, but you were 15 seconds away from not getting that healthy heart. It was unbelievable. So anyway, they put Nick back on life support for 2 days. They test all his organs. Everything checks out good. And then the rest is history. But at that meeting, 6 months out, 6 months after Nick died, 6 months after I got the heart, and I met Caroline, his 23-year-old wife. I also met baby Hannah. And they came up and they put Hannah in my arms.
Wow.
Hannah's about 6 months, no, she's 4 weeks old. Baby Hannah's 4 weeks old. And I'm holding little baby Hannah close to me, listening to her dad's heart beating in my chest.
Nick passed away and Caroline was pregnant at the time.
Yes.
Wow.
When Nick died and had his accident, was in the hospital and then became an organ donor, Caroline, his wife, 23-year-old wife, was pregnant.
Oh my goodness. So he never met his daughter.
Never met his daughter. So I'm holding baby Hannah close, listening to her dad's heart that she had never met, was born after he died, and was born after Nick became a hero and saved 6 people's lives, including yours truly.
Wow.
So that whole part of the story has been a blessing. Caroline has been out front about organ donation. We've been in touch because they live 30 miles north.
Okay.
And so we see them once in a while with my family. When baby Hannah was like 6 months old, I went up to their house and I went up with a present, being a former University of Utah basketball player. I gave a little 6 to 9 month baby PJ with booties in and everything. I gave her a nice red one with a big U on it. But I also gave her a blue one with a big Y on it.
That's so funny.
Because it turns out that her dad, my donor, Nick Longshore, played football at BYU.
Wow.
And guess what? There's no rejection.
Body took it, huh?
My University of Utah body accepts it. I have to take anti-rejection meds for the rest of my life, but who cares?
Yeah.
I'll easily take those. I've got a healthy, strong heart. Nick went on a mission for the LDS Church to the Philippines, doesn't smoke, doesn't drink. I have a really strong heart.
And I thought that was also another interesting layer to this, that he served in the Philippines, and that's where my mom's from.
And you're half Filipino.
Yeah.
And Nick went to, this is another reason things
Yeah,
happen. We don't know
exactly.
why. And so Nick went to the Philippines on his mission.
Ah, wow, interesting.
Yeah, it's amazing. But healthy, strong guy. One other little side note about this. I leapfrogged about 50 people on the transplant list ahead of
Okay.
me because Nick was 6'5", 280.
Ah,
I was 6'5", 280 pounds at the time.
that makes sense. Yeah.
So Nick was too big. Nick's heart was too big for
right.
50 people on the list ahead of me that were normal-sized people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They
Okay.
say that 6'5", 280, it's like 3% of the population has that size frame. And luckily, Nick, my donor, was exactly the same size, 6'5", 280. I can't get a 5 foot, 100-pound woman's heart, for
Sure.
example.
Right.
It won't work because it's got to pump all the way from there to there,
Yeah.
all 6'5" of me and long. So I needed a big heart. So that reduced my chances of probably getting a heart transplant.
Yeah.
It's another reason why it's like a miracle.
Things happen.
Well, it
that's-
literally is a miracle.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And then,
So I find out, yes, that Nick played football at BYU, so I'm the dumb Utah guy with a BYU heart. All my obnoxious Utah buddies say, no, man, that can't be right. Those BYU guys don't have a heart. So believe me, Derek, in 5 years, I've heard it all. I've heard every
That's
scenario.
so funny.
When Utah plays BYU, I don't know who in the world to cheer for.
You're divided, yeah.
I have purple blood. Right.
Now, and then you met baby Hannah again just like a year ago, right?
No, it was actually five months ago on
Oh,
Thanksgiving.
okay.
It was before the Utah BYU football game,
Oh.
right before Thanksgiving 5 months ago. And YouTube, BYU TV, had another little 6-minute video kind of showing the update. What's happened in 5 years since you got the heart?
Okay.
What's
Nice.
happened to Caroline and Hannah and their family? What's happened to my family? What has this blessing meant to you and your family? What has it meant to the Longshores and so on? I've met Nick Longshore's mom, Deanne. I've
Okay.
met his brothers. I've met his sister. I've met the Longshore family. Wonderful, great family.
Great.
I have big shoes to fill. I feel like I have a cause, sorry, for the rest of my life,
Yeah.
that I will pay tribute to this miraculous blessing and miraculous gift that I've been given.
That's
I wouldn't be here without it. So, through the vehicle of my Hearts Foundation, we're going to find organ donors' families, heroes, everyday heroes who have saved and are saving people's lives.
Oh, good.
So my Hearts Foundation I created, we are going to provide college scholarship funds for surviving family members of organ donors, like you said.
Great.
So
I think that's so great.
my first recipient of a scholarship from my Hearts Foundation is, of course, Hannah Longshore, Nick's daughter,
Of course.
who never saw her dad. So when she's 18 years old and she wants to go to college, we're going to provide a nice college
great.
scholarship for baby Hannah.
That's so cool.
So 4.5 months ago, when we met before the Utah BYU game, and BYU TV did this story, Caroline, Nick's wife, Nick's widow, and Caroline came to my house.
Okay.
And they rang the doorbell. I opened the door. I pick up baby Hannah, who's now 4.5 years old. And I pick her up and give her a hug. And I take Hannah's hands and I put them on my chest. And I say, so Hannah, tell me about this heart right here. Whose heart is this? And 4.5-year-old Hannah says, well, it's my daddy in heaven's heart.
Wow.
Just broke me up.
Don't make me cry again.
So Hannah is well aware, and she knows that her daddy's heart is right here
Wow.
in this old guy's body. And she knows
Wow.
that all of my kids, all of my family are thankful and have been blessed by her daddy's heart.
Yeah.
And this is what happens all the time with organ donation. Of all the people waiting in America on the list, on the transplant list, for a kidney or a liver or lungs or a heart, only 27% are successful in getting that
Oh, wow.
healthy organ.
Wow.
That means 73% of all people waiting on the list
Yeah.
either die, or they live on insulin, or they live on dialysis, or they live with that lousy organ that they've got. So,
Wow.
donor awareness is very important. So that's my cause as well, is organ donor awareness. And anything we do, we're going to spread organ donor awareness because there's more demand than there is supply, right?
Oh, yeah.
So our foundation, heartsforhearts.org, is our purpose is twofold: to raise scholarship funds for surviving family members of organ donors and organ donor awareness.
Okay.
So there you go. That's what we've decided is a way to give back.
I think that's
a way
fantastic.
To pay it forward.
Yeah. Well, what I appreciate, Ken, is that you, like you said, this is like you're paying homage to that family, and you respect that fact. You're humble, and I noticed during this interview as we're talking, as you mentioned the heart, and you say my heart, you reluctantly kind of touch yourself because you know it wasn't your heart, right. It was a donated heart, and I could tell by your demeanor that you always recognize that.
You know, I hope I'll always respect that and always pay homage, like you say, to the miracle that happened.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here without it. I was dying.
True.
I was very, very sick, and I was fading fast. And without a heart transplant, I wouldn't be here. Since that's happened, so I always will pay homage to Nick Longshore.
Yeah.
And his heart, but also to his family, to his mom, his brothers and sister, his little baby child, Hannah, to his widow, Caroline. I'll always pay my respects and always give praise and thanks to that family. I was just going to tell you something. I got sidetracked. So since this has happened, five years ago, right? I have two daughters, Bailey and Taylor. I've been able to walk both those girls down the aisle. Bailey got married 3 years ago to Stratos. He's a man from Greece. We went to Greece. We met his family. He lives on this little Greek isle. There are hundreds of them off the coast by Athens. And Lipsy is the name of Stratos' island. 700 people live on this little island. We went to Lipsy, met his family. We saw Bailey and my daughter Bailey and Stratos get married in this 700-year-old Greek church. Amazing.
Wow.
So I've been able to do that. Now Bailey and Stratos have had baby Penelope and now baby Melina. So they've had two little girls. Penelope's turning 2. Melina's only 4 months old. I got to walk Bailey down the aisle. Now my baby, Taylor, just graduated from Utah State, and she just got married to RJ. I got to walk her down the aisle 9 months ago.
Wow.
Walking my little girls down the aisle, seeing 2 more grandkids born. I have 13 now total.
Very cool.
Those things I never would have been able to do.
You're right.
Without this heart transplant.
You're right about that.
So, praise God. Praise go to Nick Longshore and his gift that saved my life. But these blessings have happened to me, and I'll be forever thankful.
That's so great. And again, they can go, it's heartsforhearts.org.
Number 4.
Yeah.
Heartsforhearts.org.
And people can go to that website. You have all the information there. And again, donor awareness as well. You know, if this is something that you weren't sure about, or you were kind of on the fence about donor, becoming a donor, hopefully Kenny's story here kind of helps put that over for you, where you say, it's important. You never know whose life you can affect, because Nick's donation didn't affect just yours, Kenny. It affected your whole family's. because
which
they got to
could
see
turn
you.
into generations,
Yeah.
really. No,
Your
it truly is.
grandkids wouldn't have been able to meet you. So.
I'm happy to go to some of the high schools in the state and talk to the 16, 17-year-old driver's ed kids that are
Right.
getting that first driver's license, trying to encourage them to put a yes on your driver's license, be an organ donor. Let me tell you a story, kids, right? I wouldn't be here without it. So Caroline Longshore, Nick's widow, is also out front about organ donation. And so we want to encourage those high school kids getting that first driver's license to be an organ donor. I run into situations all the time and stories all the time about somebody that had a kidney transplant, somebody that had a liver transplant. I mean, it's just amazing what they can do. And I run into these people all the time. So we're trying to leave me and my arrogance and my ego out of it and try to give back and see the good in what organ donation really is.
It's true. And it's you're also looking for donors. It's a tax deduction that you can do if you donate or you know someone that can donate.
Oh, for donations. Yeah, absolutely. If anybody wants to help us provide college scholarship funds for organ donors and families of organ donors, we're accepting those. And like you say, it is a tax deduction. And they can find that information with a Donate Now button on our heartsforhearts.org website.
Very cool.
But I run into other people. I've found our second recipient of a scholarship from my foundation.
Okay.
I don't know if I ought to say his name.
Up to you.
I've spoken to him. There's a guy some of you might know. He's a huge star. Reno Mahi is a former BYU football player. I keep helping BYU people.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
Anyway, Reno's a great guy. He and his wife, they have a wonderful family. I spoke to Reno. We've talked and connected on Facebook and so on. Reno Mahi's 3-year-old daughter died in a tragic accident.
I remember.
And this little girl became an organ donor. She's a hero.
Wow.
She saved people's lives with her organs. So Reno has 8 other kids. So our foundation, we're going to provide college scholarship funds for Reno Mahi's family. I don't know how he's going to divide it up amongst 8 kids. But we found our second recipient, and we'll go through the proper procedures and filling out application and all that. There's a scholarship application that people can fill out to be a recipient of what we're trying to do. And a lot of the sponsors and companies that support good causes, we're going to raise scholarship funds, and we're happy and blessed to be able to do that.
That's so powerful. That's incredible. Kenny, I want to thank you for coming down and help kind of spread the word of donor awareness out there and sharing your incredible story and also in the remembrance of Nick Longshore's life and his donations that he provided to you plus another 5. Is that right? Wow, incredible.
He gave his organs to 6 people, yeah.
Wow.
He's a hero.
Yeah, absolutely.
And any organ donor is a hero. I mean, the miraculous gift of being able to save other people's lives is like, wow.
You're right about that.
Powerful.
It's true.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on, Ken. I appreciate you sharing everything with us. And I appreciate you guys listening and watching to the podcast. Hey, hold on to your loved ones a little bit more today, all right, guys? Have a great day.
Hug them tight.